In a recent press conference meant to provide insight into a mysterious object under NASA's observation, officials made two crucial mistakes that undermined their ability to effectively communicate with the public. This press conference, meant to generate excitement and awareness about the object in question, inadvertently missed key opportunities to both spark curiosity and give a deeper understanding of the scientific inquiry underway. At the core of these mistakes were two primary issues: the mismanagement of expectations around the object's mysteries and the decision to hold a press conference when little substantive new information had been gathered. One of the first issues that arose was the way the object was presented to the public. During the press conference, the focus was placed on what was already known about the object, with an emphasis on its classification as a typical comet. While it was acknowledged that the object had come from a different environment than usual, the overall tone of the briefing seemed to downplay any inherent mysteries. Officials attempted to reassure the public that the object was not unlike others observed in the past, and that the scientific investigation into it might not uncover anything out of the ordinary. This is where the first major misstep occurred. When communicating with the public, particularly about something as fascinating and potentially groundbreaking as a comet or celestial body, the mystery should be emphasized, not diminished. The public is drawn to the unknown, to the questions that remain unanswered. By highlighting what is already known about the object, NASA missed an opportunity to engage the public's imagination and curiosity. The public has an innate interest in the mysteries that surround scientific exploration. They want to know what makes the object unique, why it deserves the attention of experts, and how it might reveal new insights into the nature of the universe. Instead of delving into the questions that the object raises, questions such as how it came to be, why it behaves differently from other objects, and what anomalies might be discovered in the data, NASA chose to focus on the mundane and familiar. This approach not only failed to pique public interest, but also missed an opportunity to engage in meaningful science communication. It is crucial that, when dealing with something as mysterious as an object like 3I/Atlas, the conversation should center around the unknowns, the anomalies, and the vast potential for discovery that still lies ahead. Rather than lowering expectations, the messaging should emphasize that the investigation is ongoing and that new data could lead to groundbreaking revelations. If NASA had focused on the mysteries surrounding the object, they could have sparked a more dynamic conversation with the public, drawing attention to the science at work and encouraging people to follow along with the discovery process. The second major mistake came from the decision to hold a press conference in the first place. When looking at the data that was shared during the conference, it becomes clear that there was little new information to reveal. The images that were presented, including the most promising one from the HiRISE camera on the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, were less than conclusive. These blurry, degraded images, taken during the government shutdown and then withheld for an additional 45 days, were hardly groundbreaking. While the HiRISE image did offer a glimpse of the object's appearance, it did not provide any new, substantive data that could advance our understanding. In fact, the best takeaway from the blurry images came from the observation that the object's glow appeared to extend in the direction of its motion, not in the direction of the sun, as would typically be expected from a comet's tail. This was an intriguing observation, but it didn't necessarily offer anything that could be used to definitively answer any of the questions that had been raised about the object. The glow extending ahead of the object instead of trailing behind it raised more questions than it answered. Comets typically have tails that are pushed away from the sun by solar winds, meaning any gas and dust expelled from the comet would generally follow this pattern. However, the glow observed in this case seemed to defy that expectation. The object appeared to be moving in a different direction, with the trail of gas and dust preceding it rather than following it. This anomaly could be significant, but it wasn't addressed during the press conference. Instead of delving into the implications of this observation, the officials instead presented a cautiously optimistic view, offering little in the way of scientific explanation. They could have highlighted the mystery of why the object was behaving in this unusual manner, and used it as an opportunity to discuss the kinds of future data that could help solve this puzzle. By failing to engage with this interesting anomaly, NASA squandered a chance to deepen the public's interest in the object and the research surrounding it. What's more, the blurry nature of the images presented during the press conference only added to the sense of disappointment. The high-rise image, though the best of the batch, was compromised by camera jitter and motion blur. As such, it provided little tangible information that could be analyzed with certainty. NASA could have made the decision to simply release the data to the public without the fanfare of a press conference, allowing researchers to analyze the images and draw their own conclusions. Instead, they held a press event around these inconclusive findings, which only led to frustration and disillusionment among the public. Furthermore, the overall tone of the press conference failed to acknowledge the inherent complexities and challenges of studying such a mysterious object. While some scientists had clearly been working diligently to analyze the data, the focus of the conference was on generalities. There was little detailed discussion about the specifics of the research being conducted, and no mention of the questions or hypotheses that had been raised by those working with the data. The absence of researchers and data analysts at the conference further underscored the lack of substance in the presentation. Instead of providing a forum for those directly involved in the analysis to share their findings and ideas, NASA chose to have a group of officials speak in general terms, which did little to educate or engage the public. This lack of transparency and openness is problematic, as it fosters mistrust and hinders scientific progress. If NASA had invited the researchers who were actually working on the analysis of the object, they could have provided valuable insights and context that would have been far more informative and engaging for the audience. These researchers could have discussed the questions they were trying to answer, the methods they were using, and the potential implications of their findings. By excluding these voices, NASA missed an opportunity to bring the scientific community closer to the public, making the process of discovery more accessible and understandable. Ultimately, the press conference revealed a failure in both the strategic communication and the execution of public outreach. Rather than building excitement and curiosity, NASA's decision to downplay the mysteries of the object and focus on what was already known left the audience with a sense of unmet expectations. The decision to hold a press conference when there was little new information to share only compounded this issue, making the event feel more like a formality than a true scientific revelation. In the end, the conference highlighted the need for more thoughtful and engaging communication in the scientific community, where the mysteries of the universe can be shared with the public in a way that fuels curiosity and encourages a deeper appreciation for the ongoing quest for knowledge. In conclusion, NASA missed a significant opportunity to communicate the excitement and intrigue surrounding 3I/Atlas. By focusing too much on the familiar and avoiding discussion of the object's mysteries, they failed to capture the public's imagination. The decision to hold a press conference without substantive new findings only added to the disappointment. Moving forward, NASA and other scientific organizations must recognize the importance of communicating the unknowns and anomalies in a way that excites and inspires. Rather than downplaying the mysteries, they should embrace them, inviting the public to join in the excitement of scientific discovery as it unfolds.